going to be an evening of joy, beauty, and laughter, and I hope you'll join me.
Hello, my name is Sharon Wright, and I'm the newest member of the board at Summit State Bank. We're pleased to continue our partnership with the Press Democrat as the presenting sponsor of Women in Conversation Speaker Series. For the past 5 years, we've introduced you to many amazing and diverse women. Their personal stories have inspired us, entertained us, and motivated us. While we're not able to host an in-person event this year, that won't stop us from recognizing and celebrating the amazing and successful women of this county. Challenging times we know, but as we've proven, we are resilient and Sonoma strong. Women in Conversation at Home is a virtual lifestyle series that focuses on the charm of this county and the remarkable women that call it home. On behalf of the staff of the Press Democrat and Summit State Bank, thank you for joining us tonight. We hope that the next 60 minutes will inspire you, make you smile, and give you the courage to follow your own dreams. This Women in Conversation at Home series is hosted by Amy Gutierrez. Amy is an Emmy Award-winning producer, reporter, and best-selling author. Best known as Amy G, she is a Bay Area native and has been in broadcasting for many years. This is her 10th season as the in-house reporter for our San Francisco Giants. Please help me in welcoming Amy into your home.
Hello, I'm Amy Gutierrez, and I am honored to host Sonoma County Women in Conversation at Home. Our goal is to inspire and empower by highlighting topics of interest and importance to women in particular. By gathering together, even virtually, we are helping to build a stronger community of women who mentor, support, and inspire each other. I'd like to take a moment to thank those that have made this night's feature possible. Presenting sponsor Summit State Bank and founding sponsor St. Joseph Health. These two organizations have supported Women in Conversation from the very beginning. Their consistent and collaborative participation has helped to develop and evolve the program, and their financial support has been vital to its continuation. We also send out a big thank you to supporting sponsors North Coast Tile and Stone, Encore Events, Montgomery Village, and Kendall Jackson. Please support these businesses as they have so graciously supported this series and made this special evening possible. So this year marks an important anniversary for women in the United States. 100 years since the passage of the 19th Amendment and the right to vote. We still have a lot of work to do on the equality front. And although the movement was not initially fully inclusive, this was a significant step in the right direction. The suffrage movement arose through the power of women coming together to fight for their rights, and we aim to continue to empower and support women through this event. Tonight, we will delve into the amazing success stories of local women who have pivoted their careers to follow their passion and find their calling. We explore vegetable gardens, backyard chicken coops, and local entrepreneurship on a journey to become our best sustainable selves. Before we talk to our amazing speakers, let's tune in to a couple of segments produced by Sonoma Magazine's Sophia England and Heather Irwin.
At St. Joseph Health, we're here for you through it all with world-class compassionate care, now or in the future, in person or virtually. We're always here for you. Find the care you need to get back to you at stjoesonoma.org.
Hi, I'm Heather Irwin from the Press Democrat's Bike Club Dining blog. Welcome to Eat the Season. As a food writer, I spend a lot of time thinking about seasonality because it's really everything here in Sonoma County. And right now, as you can tell, it's apple season here in Sebastopol. There's a long history of picking and eating local apples this time of year. In fact, 100 years ago, there were more than 10,000 acres dedicated just to the Gravenstein, what you might call the iconic apple of Sonoma County's eye. But over time, the tart and notoriously difficult to grow apple fell out of favor. It was replaced by vineyards, houses, and other crops, and now only 10% of the original orchards remain. In fact, the Gravenstein has become so rare but it was put on an endangered list by the slow food movement. Thanks to a renewed interest in heirloom fruits, a new generation of cider makers are embracing not only the Gravenstein, but many other apple varieties found in West County. Don't worry though, there are always plenty of apples ready for pies, cakes, cobblers, and other desserts that define this fall season. Because there's just something so incredibly special about eating apples picked in our literal backyards. Let's find out more about eating the season with chef and blogger Mimo Ahmed. So Mimo, thank you so much for being here today at Apple Bottom Farms. In addition to being an incredible food blogger, you're a pastry chef at Glen Ellen Star and a baking rock star, as we can see.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about why you love apple season and maybe some of your favorite apples.
With so many apple varieties out there, it can be so overwhelming to decide which apple to use for what. So I personally like to cut an apple and saute it on the stovetop before I decide on what spices to add to it, how much sugar, and how much thickener to add to it.
What are the best baking apples?
Of course, the Gravenstein apple.
Of course, our Gravenstein apples, yes.
I really like the Gala, Granny Smith. I really like Golden Delicious.
What's the absolute best for an apple pie?
I personally love to mix like two flavors.
Oh, okay.
Like the Granny Smith holds its shape when the Golden Delicious is more on the softer side. So you get the tart and the sweet and the different textures. So I love mixing a few different varieties.
Well, I'm dying to try this beautiful apple pie that you made for us today. I can't wait to dig into it. Let's give it a try.
Awesome. Would you like me to do the honors of cutting it?
You may do the honors. You made it, so.
Awesome. All
Now,
right.
how long did you cook this?
I baked it for 2 hours. It's a
2
very
hours,
big
okay.
pie.
And is that in cast iron?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That is a mile-high apple pie. That just looks fabulous. This is an amazing piece of apple pie.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna dig in. You gotta
Okay.
dig in too.
Let's do it.
This is probably the best apple pie I've ever had.
Oh, thank you so
It
much.
really, really is.
Very kind of you. Thank you.
I think it's time for us to have a little cider with our apple pie here. We've got a beautiful Gravenstein cider, which is absolutely perfect for this moment. I'm gonna go ahead and open this. There it goes. All right, grab your glass. Let's drink up. Oh, that looks good. Well, Mimo, cheers to apple season.
Cheers.
I'm Sofia Englund, and I'm the digital editor of Sonoma magazine. I live in Sonoma County, but I was born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden. A lot of lifestyle concepts have come out of Scandinavia in recent years. Today, I'd like to explore the Swedish word lagom. Lagom means not too little and not too much, just the right amount. It's a way to achieve balance. So how can you live a lagom life? One of my favorite ways to practice lagom is through the Swedish tradition of taking coffee breaks during the workday. We call this fika. We often enjoy fika with coffee and a cinnamon roll, but it's much more than that. It's an experience, it's a ritual, it's an opportunity to sit down, take your mind off of work, connect with others, and unwind. Taking these breaks helps us be more productive when we go back to work, and they also make life more enjoyable. At its root, Lagom is a way of being mindful. It's about finding just the right amount of everything so that you can find a sense of harmony. Making room for peace and quiet, or as we say in Sweden, lugn och ro, is a good way to find that balance. Drawing, knitting, playing a musical instrument, reading, gardening, or something else can create a sense of calm and keep you inspired. Taking a walk in nature is also a great way to find lugn och ro. Like Californians, Swedes live close to the outdoors, and we've learned that getting in touch with nature is a good way to recharge your batteries. But to really feel the full benefits, try to be quiet, completely present, and totally unplugged when you take your walk. And that brings me to one last example of how to live a lagom life: lördagsgodis. In Sweden, we like our candy and sweets, but we also know that you can have too much of a good thing. That's why Swedish kids are only supposed to have candy one day per week, Saturday. We call this lördagsgodis, or Saturday candy. It's up to the child to carefully select which treats to get and how many of each. But the kids know that when the bag is weighed, mom or dad won't be happy if it's too heavy. Whatever your own treat is, by limiting it to a specific day and having just the right amount of it, you might be on your way to living a lagom life. Not too little and not too much. I hope you'll find inspiration from the Swedish word lagom, and that you find just the right amount of everything that you need in your life. Hej då!
It wasn't long before the management at Summit State Bank recognized the need to focus on well-being and self-care of our employees.
I know you'll benefit from what our partners have to say.
Reminding yourself this too shall pass.
We hope that you stay safe and are well and take care of yourself so that we can all get through this and find the other side of the pandemic.
I'm excited to host this next segment of our program, centering on our theme of being your best sustainable self. From gardens to chickens to local sustainable products, we are exploring ways that we can live more sustainably in our own backyard and support those who are creating a more sustainable Sonoma. We will be sitting down for a chat with 3 inspirational women to learn more about their journey and their passions. Tanya Soderman left a bustling photography career in San Francisco in search of down-to-earth farm life in Sonoma. She has created a chicken oasis on her 3-acre farm named Sonoma Chicks, complete with ducks, quail, rabbits, geese, goats, and a gigantic tortoise, and most prominently, chickens. Millie, the new farm puppy, just joined the ranks, and another will be arriving soon. Tanya has raised over 30 breeds of chickens, some coming in as eggs shipped from around the world, and some as rescues. She establishes a relationship of trust with her animals, providing them with a space to live out their lives naturally and retire in a safe environment on the farm. She is an inspiring woman that pivoted her photography career to focus on farm and family life. Well, here she is, Tanya Soderman. Loved your sizzle reel, and you have to tell us about Sonoma Chicks. It sounds fabulous. And why did you want to create this chicken oasis?
Well, it started with my move up to Sonoma, and it started with a few chickens, like 3. What you don't know is that chickens are highly addictive, and they're funny, and they're easy to take care of. So it just grew, and they became my models for my photography, and it just kept growing, and I created this backdrop to create art, and then I could also, my main focus on, or love, is also take care of animals, and that gave me that possibility, which Sonoma has, you know, with the whole authentic farm life.
Yes. And that's what I was just going to ask you, because you're originally from Norway. So was it that aspect of Sonoma that drew you to this area? You've been able now to combine two of your passions.
Yeah, the farm definitely has a flair of Norway in it. It's got the red barn and white. I spent actually quite a bit of time managing to get that red perfect, and it's now being sold at the local store as Sonoma Chicks Red, because I spent so much time finessing the color. It's definitely a part that I brought with me to America, of childhood dreams with my family farm in Norway. Yeah, as everybody who moves to a new country, we take some of our culture with us that makes us feel safe and happy, and that's what this little farm has done.
Well, I think don't underestimate, Tanya, the people watching our interview, because they're from Sonoma County, and we know how addictive chickens are, because Petaluma is the chicken capital of the world. So we know what you're feeling, but I really want to get into how you made this pivot, because you left a high-profile job making good money to choose quality of life, or maybe financial means aren't the top priority right now, and it's more about following your passions and making that change. So what is the advice you would give to folks watching that are afraid to do that? I think that's the biggest hurdle, is to leave the security of money for peace of mind.
Yeah, and it is a hard change to make. I do feel that, I don't know, maybe it's my age, you come to a point where you understand that life goes past really quickly, and you have this one life. And for me, I have a bucket list of things I want to do with my life and not enough time. So I decided that I was burnt out, I was tired, and I had this opportunity to move to a less expensive place. And that gave me a little bit of downtime to rethink and focus on what I wanted to do. And so now I am shooting and working doing what I want to do. My passion is in every photo. I live and breathe the work I do versus being a creative, good photographer for somebody else. So I would just tell everybody, just do it. Take the chance. And I always thought that if it doesn't work out, I can just change it again. I can go back, redo. I don't have a big ego. I can go back to waiting tables or washing houses, whatever. I'm safe. I'm going to be okay. But this time I don't feel that I'm not so worried anymore, because behind what I'm doing now is all my passion, and I feel it's good, and I believe in it so much more than I've done before.
I love that. I just love that. So this whole series is about being your best sustainable self, and you're a living example of this. You transitioned from city life to farm life, but how did the family handle that? Because you're a mom too.
How they handle the move?
And the total adjustment in lifestyle.
Oh, I think that we came mostly for the lifestyle. I mean, it's a beautiful region, and the weather, sunshine, all of those good things that Sonoma has. And to me, the more authentic farm community around. The kids, we came from an expat, we all both come from an expat family background, and we also had that in San Francisco. So yeah, it was a little rough in the beginning, getting used to it. I did take a break, and then I went to Spain for a year, and that gave me a nice break to sit down and dream and figure out and miss the gardens and the beauty. And then I planned the whole farm, what I was going to do, and I came back. And we brought a rabbit back. So Juan Carlos from Madrid now lives here with us.
Juan Carlos, and you have so many animals. So let's talk about the animals on your farm. You have beautiful pictures of your animals behind you that I want to get into as well. But I know you have some rescues, and then you have to give us the scoop on Cinderella and Bernadette. And how do you come up with these names?
Sometimes friends, see something and they say it out right away. I love old names. I love flower names, mostly. I don't know if Bernadette is Bernadette yet, or if she's going to be Bernie. But I've been trying to hatch eggs for a long time with goose eggs, and I didn't have the proper equipment. So I was going through them and losing a lot, and it was sad. And then I finally upgraded to a better equipment, and this one egg hatched, and she imprinted on me immediately, which means that you don't have a baby.
You're the mom.
A baby that does not think that she's a goose, she's mine, she's a human, she wants to be with you all the time. So yeah, that was, that was just so much more work than you would ever think. Actually not something you want to do if you have a normal life, because I was carrying this thing. I had her, stuffed in here. And
hang on, I gotta get the goose. Just a second.
Huh?
Hang on, I gotta grab the goose.
Yes. Oh no, that's not kidding. Inside house, outside house, put to bed. It was a constant, nap time. Now you can come with me, but now you need to rest. So just wonderful experience though. But it's, I have quite a few animals that need special care. So at times spring is pretty rough.
And
I love it.
I can tell you love it. And that's why we love talking to you, because it's so inspiring to speak to somebody who followed what they wanted to do and made it happen, no matter what the consequences or what you had to sacrifice. You're following your dreams, and it's just one of those things we all look at and say, I wish I could do that. And you said, I'm gonna do that. And you also do you have a tortoise on the property?
Yeah, I have a Dashman that was rehomed to me a couple of years ago. He's 100 pounds sulcata tortoise, so he's a really good size. He's probably, he's a very cool guy, but definitely one of my most challenging pets, because he's a master at breaking out. He has a good half an acre together with all the other animals that he can roam, but tortoises roam. That's what they do through deserts. And, he's fun and great, but if you see him around walking the streets, he's
back.
But I didn't get a tracker for him to put on, so I'm just hoping that I'm going to get more alerts before he gets into trouble.
How do they all get along? It's so funny. I have 2 kids, and I'm always concerned when they start fighting or bickering. And I have that, oh my gosh, will you guys stop it? Now you do that with all these different animals, because I'm sure they have different personalities. Do they all get along?
They do, and that is a big deal. They have to get along. And if I occasionally get something that doesn't get along and it doesn't work out, I can't keep it, because the whole community inside Sonoma Chicks has to be a peaceful one in order for them to be happy, and just all of us to be happy and work together. They have a lot of space, always helps. But then, I love the fact that, like, the goose and this beautiful big goose I have and Dashman will, I will find them together eating out of the same pile, or there'll be a chicken sitting on Dashman's back. There'll be rabbits running around interacting too, and nobody seems to be scared of each other. So it's sort of like when you're a child and you dream of what animals in the forest, how they should live together.
Yep.
That's sort of what I've created. I don't know, like the veterinarian would probably be like, well, that's not healthy because they could catch this and that, but out the window. They're having a good time. It's a party.
You have your own little Snow White forest scenario going
exactly.
on.
I'm a little late on the Snow White look, but I've got it. I've definitely created it, and it gives a lot of pressure to me and to definitely my youngest daughter.
Will you share information about those beautiful photos behind you? And I have to know, I can remember vividly. I can remember vividly trying to get pictures taken of my toddlers, and they wouldn't sit still. I got such a workout. They were like 1, and they kept going off the set. How did you get the animals to pose for you?
Yeah, that's sort of, I raised most of them here, and so they know me, they trust me, I trust them. It's been a long process of me spending a lot of time with them. So they've never had any bad experiences in their life, so they are not scared. which makes it easy. So I can just pick them up, put them on my stand, and we talk to each other for a while. And I tell them what we're doing, and they work with me. The adopted and rescued animals, that's a whole different game. It takes longer, but we get it done, and my images should show that. I am a portrait photographer. Probably that's one of the things I was best at back in the days. And so I focus in on their faces and their funny personalities and how I just, their eyes and the way they express themselves, the way they tilt their head at me. There's a communication going on, even though it's just an animal.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and not just an animal. I mean, you've made this your life, and you clearly have a connection. I love that. So clearly your life as a photographer has now a role in your life with running Sonoma Chicks. And did you envision that, though, when you made the move, that you would continue with photography with animals, or did that just come about and kind of like fate?
Initially, no, I just needed a break from photography. There was a couple of years I didn't pick up my camera. Really tired, and sort of the work had killed some of the joy. So I didn't pick up my camera. So I just started building, because I like to build things. But because I've, have 20 plus years in the photography business, and your eyes are trained to work in a certain way, and backdrop means everything, or lack of backdrop. So when I started building, I was basically just creating, in the beginning, not purposely, but creating a backdrop for myself, something beautiful that I could take photos in. And at the beginning I was thinking, well, I could do commercial shoots here in the future for children's clothing, or I can do kids' portraits, whatever I could do. Not really what I wanted to do, but then came the animals in slowly, and I built a backdrop. The animals came first, then I built my backdrop, and now I feel I can move my camera seamlessly around and never have to be annoyed because something is unattractive. The only things that bug me today are like an extension cord or tipped over water, but everything else is, I'm a perfectionist. Everything else is matching,
Oh, that's fantastic. So lastly, before I let you go and you rejoin us for the panel Q&A, if someone watching is interested in raising chickens, what is your best piece of advice to them? As you already said, they're addictive.
The best would be ask yourself, do you have time to keep a healthy animal? And if you do, and you can keep it safe in a good environment with netting that can't be dug under, you should definitely have a chicken. I mean, it teaches your kids so many things and just teaches you a lot of things. And the most spectacular thing that I think about a chicken, and I didn't own chickens before I came to Sonoma ever, is that they're so beautiful. There's some breeds out there that I would show you a picture and you'd be like, what bird is that? And it's a chicken, and that beautiful bird, kept healthy and pretty, will lay an egg, and that's a meal. I mean, that's pretty fantastic. Like,
it really is.
Fresh meal, and the beauty of that, and they're funny, they're entertaining to look at.
They are. They are. And we love chickens here in Petaluma. I can attest to that. And I was going to say, if you're able to do it, you would have breakfast every day. It's right there for you. And the eggs taste so good.
They're unbelievable. Like, I don't think I've ever been sick of it. Like, my problem is I can't pick up an egg anywhere else,
Yeah. Well, that's fair. Yours are the best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
okay,
beautiful.
well, I want to thank you for your time in this individual interview. You are such an inspiration, and I so appreciate you sharing your story with everybody and empowering other women and men who are watching this. And we're going to catch up with you for our Q&A session in just a little bit. That's Tanya Soderman, and she runs Sonoma Chicks. For Dusky Estes, farm to table isn't a marketing tactic. It's her way of life. After spending years as a chef, including critical acclaim and features on the Food Network and PBS, she is now turning her attention to fighting food insecurity and food waste with local nonprofit Farm to Pantry. And it's at a time when it is needed most. She is known for her dedication to ethical sourcing and advocacy for small farmers, as well as her outstanding BLT. She and her husband, John, own Black Pig Market Company and a food truck, the Black Piglet. Their signature BLT is truly farm to table. The tomatoes, lettuce, and bacon are grown and produced by their own hands, and the bread comes from Nightingale Bakery, a local bakery down the road. Dusky and John's garden is impressive, sustainable, and absolutely attainable.
Well, there she is in her San Francisco Giants orange. I gotta love that. Dusky Estes, and she's the executive director for Farm to Pantry. You just saw her sizzle reel. Thank you so much for doing this and sharing your time and your story.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And you just exude energy. I know everybody's gonna love you watching today and hearing about your story. And you have a really interesting and inspiring story, Dusky, because you had to pivot your entire lifestyle and it really wasn't your choice. So I know that we have a happy Cinderella ending right now, but it wasn't always that way. Can you share a little bit about how you came to the position you have with Farm to Pantry?
Yeah, so I think many people know that I had a restaurant with my husband for 19 years in Sonoma County, and we focused on farm-raised animals from Sonoma County. We purchased direct from over 200 farmers and ranchers for 19 years. And when the flood came to our spot in the Barlow and Sebastopol, we couldn't come back. And so, but one thing that my husband always did in times of disaster, which sadly in Sonoma County we have had more than our fair share, was we always, like every other chef in the community, put our head down and figure out how our cooking can help somebody. And so in the fires in 17, you know, it was letting the firefighters and first responders know that people were grateful and cared about what they were up to and doing for us, and getting food to all the evacuees who had lost everything. So we are those kind of people. So when the pandemic hit, it was an interesting sort of problem for me, because going into the kitchen felt like a scary place because it's confined and people are running into each other and there's more people in tight quarters. And so giving back in the way that I knew to give back to our community didn't feel safe, because I have parents who are, you know, in their 70s and 80s, and I bring them food, and that it just wasn't in the cards for me. So I was trying to figure out how in this crisis can I be of service to give to others. I'm somebody who needs to be busy. So what we did was, I heard about Farm to Pantry, which was based in Healdsburg, and it's a gleaning organization that you go to farms and you harvest and you get it to people in need. And I went out on a glean and it sung to me. And so that was my way to give back, because it was safe. It was outside, it was with farmers, and it was with beautiful food product, and it was helping people. So then I found out about the executive director position being open and available, and I applied, and there it is.
And here you are. Here you are, one of our panelists, and super inspiring. So within your world, of which I don't know a lot about, because you know me, I'm always at the baseball field, except for this year. Nobody can go there. But a huge part of your life revolves around fighting food insecurity, food waste. In layman's terms, what do those mean? What is food insecurity? I mean, we can figure out food waste, but what is your role there?
So food waste, I think people understand what that word is, but they may not understand the food distribution system that basically fell apart in the current pandemic, which basically food that from Sonoma County mostly goes to restaurants, ballparks, event centers, caterers, and a lot of people have direct farming relationships. So, I mean, this is a beautiful thing about the local food movement is people were buying direct. And when the pandemic hit and all the restaurants and event centers shut down, the farmers lost their marketplace in the flash, you know, in no time. And so they too, just like this whole show is about pivoting, but they too had to look at how very quickly to come up with a different venue to sell. And it became not worth the money to harvest. And so what Farm to Pantry does is bring in volunteer labor and get that food off the earth because it's not worth harvesting for the farmers, and gets it to people in need. And what food justice means, which is the part that is so inspiring and motivates me the most, is that when I had, you know, a farm to table restaurant for 19 years in this county, it was the lucky few that got to come to my place and share in the amazing gifts that our local farmers produce and grow, because it's not easy to farm here. Land is expensive, and to do it the right way, if you care about the environment, is expensive. And so it was the lucky few that got to eat what I got to make. And now I get to deliver this, you know, amazing white peach onto everybody's table. There's like equity. Food justice is about food equity, that everybody has access to what we are so lucky to have in Sonoma County.
So, you know, I interviewed Tanya Soderman, who runs Sonoma Chicks, and I thought for sure there'd be some animals running around in her interview, but there weren't. It's in your interview, Desky. Who is that cat?
This cat is toothless, because she actually is toothless. So, and I have, you know, pigs, goats, sheep, chickens, rabbits, ducks. So I'm hoping Tanya will come over and maybe start focusing on pigs a little bit.
You guys would have a ball. I want to be there. I want to witness those encounters of all of your animals. And I want to ask you about your farm, but you mentioned farm to table. That's a phrase used all the time now. But again, I don't know if everybody really knows what that is. So what does farm to table mean to you?
So it's funny to me that people say, you know, oh, it's a trend and farm to table is over because it's been so overdone. And trends are a weird thing to me. I never was about chasing trends. I think farm to table is a way of life. It existed long before me, and hopefully it will continue to exist long after all of us.
Like our settlers were farm to table.
I'm like it's food grows, you know, food comes from a farm. But to me, what it means is a dedication to knowing the face that feeds you. And so that means two things to me. It means that I'm buying direct from somebody who grew it, or else I'm growing it myself. As a chef, what it means is that I'm fine with the confined box of season and place. So everything comes from, you know, within 50 miles of here. And no, I cannot have, even though I love bacon and BLT, I cannot have a tomato in the winter. Like, you may not have a BLT in the off season. So you make yourself only eat peaches and tomatoes and strawberries when they're available. You only eat asparagus and artichokes in the spring. It's living within.
Seasonal to what your area can grow.
Yeah. And it's also, as a chef, not having your ego on the plate. It's letting the product speak, letting the produce speak, and taking your ego off. So it's not about what I did. It's about the peach, or about the arugula, or about the pork, you know. So
that must be really fun though, Dusky, and challenging if you're cooking around the seasons, different combinations you can try. So if the BLT isn't available, do you have something else that you pair with bacon in that off season of the tomato? And
yeah, Brussels sprouts.
What is it?
Brussels sprouts love bacon. But also we make BLTs, but the T isn't a tomato anymore, it's turkey. And so our Thanksgiving meal is a BLT where the T is turkey. So.
That's super interesting. I love that. And seasonal menus that you guys create. So let's talk about your farm. Let's talk about your garden and how you guys designed it. In your sizzle reel, you know, it says it's sustainable and attainable. Of course, I would look at it and say, no way, I can't do this. So how would you tell me I could? How did you do it? How can people watching do something similar?
So this year, because of the pandemic, at the very beginning, before I got my awesome job with Farm to Pantry, we had a little bit of time on our hands, and we're, as I said, we're not good at sitting still. So of course we did the home, you know, the home projecting. We painted the kitchen, we painted the living room, we painted all the furniture. We and then
didn't your husband make that wall piece behind you?
Yes.
A bike seat?
A bike seat with some goat horns of ours. Yeah. But so we chopped all the wood on the property. And so as the projects, you know, were ramping up, we too decided we were all about the victory garden. We already were farming on our property with animals and vegetable boxes all over the property, but it was kind of haphazard, I have to admit, because we used to farm outside our restaurant, our first restaurant, and then we got in an altercation with our landlord there, and we had to pull up our farm behind our restaurant. And so we started farming in 3 places in Sonoma County to make up for it. And so we had random boxes all over our property that we just kind of, you know, in one day threw somewhere. And so it was rather unorganized. It was kind of like my brain. But so we decided to just clear the decks of all the randomness and put it all in one spot. And it was great because we upcycled. So we used all the wood from all the boxes all over the property. We moved it to the sunniest spot. We had all the irrigation in one place, and it actually worked instead of being broke.
Wow, that's huge.
But so my recommendation would be, you know, make sure you get a good spot, make sure you have working irrigation, get good soil, and then honestly, it's so easy, but also you need a husband like mine who will do all the hard work. So you get the easy part of just the harvesting.
No problem. Just a few things we need to do, including cloning your husband. No problem. So if somebody is interested in what you just talked about, but they don't have the space that you're talking about managing and that you have, 5 top vegetables, fruits people could grow in Sonoma County and should grow.
So I have to tell you, I'm a big fan of Meyer lemons. I put lemon in absolutely everything, and Meyer lemons grow well here, and they're very giving. Like, you get so much fruit. So if I had limited space, I definitely would put in a Meyer lemon tree. Okay. And then when the lemons are ripe, you can juice it all into ice cubes and then use that Meyer lemon juice throughout the year. So Meyer lemon's #1 for sure. I love arugula on everything, so I would definitely plant arugula. I also love tomatoes because you can obviously make a BLT, which I highly recommend, with black pig bacon.
Obviously.
But also you can can all the tomatoes for, you know, sauce all year long. So tomatoes are highly giving. I would pick an herb because herbs add so much flavor, whatever is your favorite herb. So mine is anise hyssop, which you can get at the Occidental Arts and Ecology Center. It's kind of like shiso, basil, and cilantro all in one. And I'm not somebody who likes anise, so don't let the name scare you. I don't like licorice, but it also has these beautiful purple blossoms in the spring that are incredible to just pick the little purple flowers and put them in a cocktail. So I highly recommend anise hyssop.
Now you're talking my language.
I know. Let's go. I wish I could send you a cocktail kit. But so, you know, marjoram is amazing. Basil is amazing. Mint is amazing. So those are probably, lemon verbena is amazing for cocktails. But so herbs, I think, add a big flavor hit for your garden if you pick one that is your favorite. And then I also love cucumbers, and they produce so much so easily. So if you have limited space, you can get a lot of food off of one cucumber plant.
I feel like we need to do another series with you just on what we could grow for cocktails. So we're gonna have to work on that one. Lastly, before I let you go and we rejoin you in our Q&A panel, where can people find your food? The Black Piglet is your food truck, and your BLT. The tomatoes are, the season's coming up here, so if people want to try it, where do they go?
So this weekend on Saturday, we'll be at Davis Family Vineyard, and on Sunday, we'll be at Three Disciples. Okay. So we'd love to have you join our truck. Every summer, we are at Davis Family Vineyards in Healdsburg. And so September is the last month of us for this year. Otherwise, we cater, so we'd love to have you reach out to us to cater for you. But you can also get our bacon at Oliver's, Big John's, Andy's, Pacific, Barbara Lee Spirits in Petaluma actually carries our bacon. In San Francisco, you can get it at Marina Meats, Golden Gate Meats at the ferry terminal, and Buy-Right Markets. In the East Bay, you can get it at Market Hall Foods.
Wow.
And you can get it online.
We can get the bacon.
We'll ship it to you all over the country at blackpigmeatco.com.
I love it. Dusky Estes, you are a breath of fresh air. I can't wait to catch up with you in the Q&A. And thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Deb Rock has devoted her entire adult life to fighting hunger for herself and others by growing organic produce and connecting community, addressing food insecurity and social justice issues surrounding farm workers, people of color, and U.S. veterans. She is the founder of Sonoma Hot Sauce, which uses 100% Sonoma-sourced ingredients, and the first Latina to create a seed-to-shelf hot sauce for market. Deb forms personal relationships with local farmers to grow peppers, waiting until the Cabernet Crush is complete to harvest. This late season harvest captures the most flavor from the peppers and helps to extend the harvest season for migrant workers, encouraging them to grow their own roots here in Sonoma and be stakeholders in this community. Harvest, crush, and seasonality are celebrated in Sonoma County, and Deb is here to strengthen and celebrate the farming community.
All right, we get to welcome in Deb Rock, hands down one of the best names I've ever heard. I can't believe you're not a professional baseball player. I just want to call that name up to the plate. She's a local entrepreneur and founder of Sonoma Hot Sauce. And Deb, let's just start at the beginning with your love of peppers and how you stumbled upon Sonoma County to grow them.
I grew up in a community and in a home where chiles were eaten every day. And my grandfather always had a chile with every meal. And when I was younger, I always wanted to eat it. And they were like, no, you can't do that. So I was determined to eat hot peppers at a very young age. And then my parents were military. We were stationed in Louisiana, where Tabasco and hot sauce is on every table. So it was inevitable that as a farmer and a gardener, that I would learn how to turn peppers into hot sauce. And I've been making it for 20 years.
It sounds almost like as a child, you might have had a little rebellious phase, but maybe that didn't quite ever go away, because I think in getting to know you, you push the boundaries, and it's gotten you to where you are. You're the first Latina to have this product on the shelves in Sonoma County.
The first seed-to-shelf shelf-stable hot sauce in Sonoma County, and most probably in the United States. I haven't found anyone else that's growing their own peppers, destemming their own peppers, processing and feeling and touching every pepper that we grow. And we're growing up to a ton, 2,000 pounds of peppers on an annual basis. And it has become so important to me, especially in a community where things are uncertain, fires, storm, whatever. The therapy of being with peppers and the color and the texture just has been, it's been a lifesaver for me.
That's so interesting you use that word therapy. My mom is a gardener, and she always said having her hands in the soil, it was therapeutic to become one with the earth. And you've built this sustainable network. You know, one of our themes through this is sustainability. And what does that term mean to you?
Well, sustainability means more than one person. Basically, you can't be sustainable by yourself. Sustainability is a vision, a mantra, it's a direction, a destination. And for me, sustainability is inclusive. So I have to include my community. I have to have a dream and a vision bigger than just myself. I would never go through the process of the almost impossible process of creating a product that that a community can enjoy and be proud of by myself or for myself. So I feel that the network of fans and hot sauce lovers and people that specifically have become loyal Sonoma hot sauce are part of the sustainability. That's the reason that I keep going. It's the reason that I keep finding and hunting for solutions. And it's also the only reason that I'm creating here, like I did in Seattle, a network that can work together and not be broken. We bend, but we don't break.
Oh man, that's so true. So let's just go back a little bit to being an entrepreneur, because people watching may have a desire to do the same thing, whatever that passion may be, but to follow it, but we have some fear in taking those steps and kind of jumping, out of our comfort zone. You did it. What do you feel were the biggest challenges in doing so?
Well, like Dusky had mentioned, I mean, it's pretty easy to, or most of us can bloom where we're planted. If life hands us a problem or something that seems insurmountable, usually we can readjust and correct and keep going. But to be an entrepreneur, to give up the concept of 9 to 5, of having a stable income, takes faith, and you have to leap. You can't move forward if you're sitting on your couch. You can't create your vision if you're frozen. And so whatever that takes, like I said, for me, it's community, it's building a legacy, it's leaving something bigger than me behind. And so that commitment to my family, the dreams, the things that I've been taught, to move forward, to never give up, to be relentless, and also in this time of my life to be resilient and flexible when most people are really set in their ways. So if you're going to recreate yourself or reinvent yourself, which most of us are talking about and considering, we're pivoting, we're changing, we're trying to figure out what's next. So that's very healthy, and that's the mindset that an entrepreneur really needs, is to openly be receptive to change.
Well, and for as difficult as this pandemic has been, I believe that is a constant thought process for a lot of us, especially those watching that signed up to come in and hear you speak. We're thinking about it, and it's forced us to think about changing our lives and what else could we do if what we've always done has gone away because of the pandemic, has changed because of the pandemic. So let's hone in specifically on what you do. Sustainability, how has it become either more challenging, less challenging during a pandemic, and now the fires, how have the fires affected your crops?
Well, the fires have decimated 2 of my crops. In 2017, I had lost everything. I lost my mom. I was in a terrible accident. My car totaled. There were so many challenges that I was having in 2017 prior to October. And my peppers were in an evacuation zone, and I was terrified that I was going to lose my crop. But I persevered. I called out to my community when the evacuation was cleared. We went into the field with a group of volunteers, and some of them I'd never met before. Community members that knew I needed help came to the rescue. And like I said, that spurred me on to overcome the impossible challenges that I was facing that year. And what had happened to me was I have a license here in California. It's very strict, of course, to bring any kind of food product or edible to market. And your license is pretty standard that wherever you get your license, you have to process. And in 2017, my kitchen became a Red Cross shelter, and I could not process there. So my supply chain was broken at that point, and I had to figure out how to process 2,000 pounds of peppers. And so again, my community opened their kitchens, made space for me, just gave me the opportunity to do what I needed to be done. And that was the crux. That was 4 years into my relocation here. And I think that's when I became part of this community.
Mm-hmm. I think that relationships in general, when you're trying to pivot or trying to change your life, are invaluable, that networking aspect. And you, Deb, take it one step beyond, and this will be my final question for you, because your social justice awareness is on point, and you have really honed in with migrant farm workers, people of color, and U.S. vets. And I'm hoping you can share a little bit about those relationships and what they mean to you regarding your work and regarding your life.
Well, I have been farming and growing food to the tune of 5,000 pounds on an annual basis to feed people in need. The organic produce that we grew in the community garden in Seattle was donated to people in shelters, food banks, Meals on Wheels programs, women's shelters. It fed the elderly and young people. And when I moved here, I knew I needed to change. I wanted to change. I wanted to find a place that I could continue to grow. I needed a bigger pot, I needed more space. And in my family, it's called having a larger territory. I really felt led and anointed to be here because I have an opportunity and a skill to connect people, to find solutions to broken systems. And here in Sonoma County, there's very little opportunity for people of color or anyone to get farmland and to fulfill that dream that we have in our heart to grow food and have a organic life and lifestyle for our family that's healthy, that protects everything. It's working together. It's making that connection with land, body, mind, and spirit truly available. And it's a lifestyle, and it's a vision, and it's a commitment. So if our community does not have access to their own plot of land, their little patch where they can grow, where they can plant seeds that have their own culturally meaningful foods, then we have a disconnect. And my vision is to create a system, an incubator, a way for those of us that are called to grow food for our lot of people, very exciting to have this renaissance, this commitment, this calling for diversity, for opportunity, for not leaving any American behind.
Absolutely. You are a true inspiration. That's Deb Rock. She's a local entrepreneur and founder of Sonoma Hot Sauce.
Thank you, Amy.
Dusky, Tanya, and Deb, and you've all been able to hear from them individually and obviously know why they were chosen to be on this panel, because they each have their own unique, inspiring story of what they needed to do to pivot their lives and have more quality in their lives, sustainability in their lives, and they took that leap. And so now I'm just going to fire off some questions to the three of you before we wrap this very, very special panel up. Thank you again for your time. And Tanya and Dusky, let's start with you. You've each pivoted your careers to follow your passion, as I said, find your calling. What do you feel was the biggest motivator and tips for surviving that journey? And Tanya, let's start with you.
The biggest motivator was, I think I got to the point where I realized life is passing by really quickly. And if I wanted to make a change, I had to do it in order to take care of myself. Mm-hmm. I would say that was, the main reason. Just be happy, because then everybody else around me is going to be happy.
That's so true. And there really is something
to, if you're a mom.
Yeah, happy wife, happy life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dusky, how about you? What was your motivator, and what would be some tips for surviving this journey? It's not all, it's not all fun.
It's bumpy. It's certainly bumpy. I would say for me, like, figuring out how to give back, like, is what fills me and fills your soul, is when you're helping somebody else. And it distracts from your own sort of wherever your pain is or whatever. But so thinking about how to give back, but also that, you want to have grit, you want to roll with it. And that half measures avail us nothing. So John, my husband, actually, it's funny, I have one of my life lessons comes from a high school principal that my husband spent some time with when he got in trouble. And we won't talk about what happened there, but the principal said to him, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, when are you going to have time to do it again? Or how are you going to find the time to do it again? And so I definitely, half measures avail nothing, like, throw yourself in it, go for it, like, whatever it is, like, you can do the next thing too, like, just keep trying. So
I love that. And I love that you threw the word grit in there, because I would use that for all three of you. And I think it's a necessary characteristic to get through things. And I also feel the giving back, selfish about being selfless, that you get so much back when you're able to give. And I don't think people understand the adrenaline rush you get when you give. So Deb, let's start with you, because you fall into that category too. And who influenced you and why? Who are your biggest influencers? I know you mentioned your grandfather.
My grandfather was an influencer to all of us. He was the first one who left for an opportunity to come to the United States as a bracero in the 1940s. And so because of his grit, because of his determination, because he continued to move forward, he wasn't fancy. My grandfather worked as a farmer, and a step up to him was laying track for the railroad all the way to Chicago from Eastern Washington. So I learned at a very young age, my parents taught me that not to feel sorry for anyone that was working or doing a hard job, because that is an opportunity to feed your family, to have the things you want. It's honest work, and to respect that effort. And so what it taught me, and what's really important working for myself, is that work ethic, is to keep on. When you talk about trying, my mom used to say, die trying. We were not allowed to make excuses or to say, I don't know. We had to figure it out. We had to come up with a solution. We also had to have a strategy. Even as young kids, we had to figure out how to get things done, because every day we were left with a list of things that had to be done. And so today, lists are still very for the and receiving what you need back. And for me, in the hardest, most difficult times, what's been so rewarding to me is the beauty and the natural beauty of wine country. If you, any direction that you go into, it's absolutely stunning. It revitalizes you. It revives you. When Dusky talks about Meyer lemons, when I moved here, or when I came on vacation, there were figs, in the parks. There's herbs everywhere you go. There's acorns. I mean, I'd never really been in a place that was so prolific, filled with oak trees. In Louisiana, live oaks are, that's Southern culture. And here is just a gift of Mother Nature. And so that was the crux of what made me certain and that this place could sustain me.
Yeah.
Not only was it beautiful, not only did it have incredible weather, you never wake up to a hot day here, and everything grows. When I moved here and I saw the names of the streets, and so many of them are in Spanish, the towns are in Spanish, Los Baños, like the bathrooms, that's crazy. There's whole towns that are named. And also, as a music lover and an art lover and a seeker of culture, it really made me feel like I was in the land of heroes and icons, musically, artistically, and definitely hospitality wise. There's amazing chefs and food and wine and culture here, and that was a good fit for me.
Yeah, there's no secret why we all choose to live here, that's for sure. Let's get back to Tanya. I love what you said about, listen, you know what, if this doesn't work out, I'll figure it out, and kind of lends a little bit to Deb saying problem solving. But I also think that ego, gender wise, for a female, doesn't always play a role, because you have to set that aside. How important is that to set that ego aside, and I'll do what I have to do to make it work while I'm trying to attain and follow my passion?
I think it's everything. Putting away your ego to take the chance to start, because you will most likely not succeed and look great right away.
Yeah.
So coming here and starting this slowly with a few chickens, there was a little bit of chatter. This new lady in town who was just playing with her chickens, and I sort of let go of my ego on that, and I ignored that, and I just stayed focused, thinking, I'm going to do this for me. I don't really care what you think, because I'm past that in my life, and and I know if I fail, I can go back and do all of those other things that I have done. Like, I've explored a lot of different professions in my life since I was 13, I can wait tables, I can wash houses, I can do anything. And the minute you have that security inside, knowing that you can do that and you're fine with that, it's the step is not so hard. I can start again.
Absolutely. That confidence that you exude, and I can take care of the basics if I have to, and then that frees me up.
Yeah,
and
it does.
I love that you said, I don't really care what you think, and it's not negative. It's owning it. It's empowering that this is what I need to do right now. And Dusky, with that totally flies in the face of being a mom, because we can't always say, I don't really care what you think, but it's your kid. And so I know there's always that struggle and balance in finding what you need, what you're trying to do for your career, and what your children need. And how do you juggle that act?
Well, I would say the finding the balance between family and work is my greatest challenge, because my kids mean everything to me, and my husband means everything to me. But obviously, the work path that I chose can you still hear me, I hope?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you.
Was every weekend, every holiday, every night, so I would say that's the hardest thing. But I do know that when I am with my kids, I am 100% present, and they matter the most. It's why we do it all, is to leave behind a legacy of caring and valuing hard work, and that I and my husband together have created some amazing people.
Well, just lending back to Tanya's statement, I think, Tanya, you're a better mom when you can say, this is what I need to do. And you talked about finding that happiness makes us better wives, sisters, daughters, mothers in general. And it's a hard concept to think of self first sometimes. And then you get, right? Because we're trying.
And it's hard. And I feel that I've sort of had to give up myself for so long, right? You have 3 children. And even now I'm sort of giving up myself because there is no time for Tanya because I run a farm, right? And children and other things. I would say though that I was just told lately that my daughter said something in bypassing to another mom, which is probably the biggest compliment I've had for years. And that was, well, my mom doesn't care what other people think. She just does her own thing. There's an expression like she bangs her on her own drum or something, you know?
That's fantastic.
And I was like, yeah, she got it.
Yeah, it's a great
And she
message.
didn't say it as if I'm embarrassed. She just said, no, my mom just does her own thing.
Yeah,
Doesn't
my
care
mom
what
knows
people
who
think.
she is. My mom knows who she is.
Yeah, and I think that just to have shown the girls and my boy that I'm going to go for what I am, what I want. And that's how I saw my mom's life, you know. And I really hope that they will ignore the chatter and just go for what's real for them.
The judgment, it's all out there, right? Okay, Deb, this is kind of a fun one, and I chose you because I can't wait to hear your answer on this. If your life was a movie, Deb, who would you want to play you and why?
Oh my gosh. I would want to have someone that was passionate, that was fiery, that was confident to play me. I mean, I really didn't think about this question too much, but I don't worship famous people. You know, I do my thing. I try to be authentic, and I would think that Selma Hayek would play someone like that, you know. And
Selma, of course. I know my husband would be on board with that choice, no doubt about it. I love that. Okay, so
she could afford the lifestyle.
Yeah. And she played Frida Kahlo. Like, she gets it. She knows an inspirational, strong character when she sees one. So this will be our last question, and we do just want to acknowledge all of the people who came in to watch these interviews and give us their time. Thank you so much. I know there have been a few bumps with Zoom and Wi-Fi, and we appreciate you sticking in there with us and understanding the technical aspects of a pandemic and how we're doing things these days. But thank you so much for joining in. And ladies, lastly, and Dusty, I'll start with you and work down. Most rewarding thing about your life and your work?
Well, I want to talk about an exciting project that I'm working on right now called the Bay Area Ranchers Co-op. It's been a lifetime battle for me in terms of supporting local meat that is pasture raised. That's not how most of the protein is raised in our country. And so we've been in a crisis in Sonoma County with our meat sourcing. And in the 19 years that I had Zazu, I saw the loss of ranchers. And in December of 2019, our local slaughter facility shut its doors to small local ranchers. And so ever since then, I've been on a group of 80 ranchers working together to solve this problem, who are all driving, if you can believe it, 5 to 6 hours now to take their animals to processing. We did a little study since the closure of that facility. The ranchers, only 11 of the ranchers have already driven around the world 1.5 times. It is ridiculous, and it's a problem that needs to be solved. And I'm very excited about the solution that I actually see on the horizon, which I didn't think was possible. Sometimes when somebody closes the door in your face, it actually is the moment in which another door opens. And so because of the closure of that facility, the 80 ranchers have come together, and we are seeking to bring a mobile unit to Sonoma and Marin County. People can join in this effort on bayarearanchers.com. The other light in life I want to talk about is obviously the work of Farm to Pantry. To have found Farm to Pantry, and you can join us. You can be a gleaner, a grower, or a giver at farmtopantry.org. And basically the opportunity for me to be Robin Hood, to get Sonoma County's bounty onto everybody's table, and I didn't even have to steal it in the first place. It's given to me by our amazing farmers. And then I get to give it to people who need it and should have the opportunity to eat that incredible head of lettuce or that gorgeous peach. So those are rewarding. And then, of course, as I said before, in my life, what is rewarding is my amazing children and my amazing husband. They bring me joy every single day.
There's your call to action from Dusky. I like it. Deb, let's go to you. Most rewarding thing about your life and your work?
Well, for me is I sleep well at night. When I was in my early 20s, I got a one-way ticket and went back to Washington, where I was born, to grow roots. And I remember calling my mom and saying, "Mom, why didn't you encourage us to go to college? Why wasn't it pounded into us to get an education or get a higher education?" And my mom, who is a career military, went to Vietnam, just a true American success story, said to me, "Deb, all I ever wanted for my children was for them to be good citizens."
I love that.
But now I know, now I'm in my 50s, and we all depend on each other to be good citizens, to give back, to help one another, to be there for each other. And when you have gone through tribulations and as a community are really grappling with change, it's that ability to connect and meet people where they are, to say, "Me too. That happened. I get it. I understand." And so when we talked about ego, when you have this massive ego to you, so being a good citizen, being relatable, creating solutions, because that people are having a tough time, and that they're going to make it through it. So being a great cheerleader and being, like I said, just being there for people.
I love that. Good citizens, good people. That's what we're trying to do. That's who we're trying to raise. Tanya, the final question to you. Most rewarding thing about your life and your work?
The most rewarding part right off the bat would be that I get to be outside all day. I get to be dirty and I get to sweat and I got to use my body. And I love that. It makes me happy. And the other part is the community that I've created, or that was there for me, with very supportive people, the feed shop, Broccos, the Howard, the veterinarian, the Friedmans, the places that I go every day almost, how they're generous with their time. And it's such a luxury for me to feel all of that support. And I love going there because they encourage me to keep going, and they're interested in what I'm doing. And I would say that's, and then obviously I'm taking in animals, and I love to fix things, repair everything from coops to old things to animals that are not doing well. That gives me a lot of pleasure.
Those animals are very, very lucky to be where they are. We're going to have to set up a play date with Dusky's animals for sure, and Tanya's animals. Ladies, there aren't words. You're just simply amazing. I'm so grateful for your time, your vulnerability, sharing your stories, and motivating all of us watching and listening to you. You've given us so much to think about. I'm curious to see who's going to take those leaps now after hearing your stories and knowing that it can be done. Thank you to all of those who signed up to watch our panel today. We're very grateful for you. Deb Rock, Tanya Soderman, Dusky Eskies, AKA Robin Hood. Thank you, ladies.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our first Women in Conversation at Home event. And thank you once again to our sponsors for making this event possible. Please remember to tune in for our next show on October 15th and register at socowomenevents.com for details. As many of you know, Laura Dern was scheduled for a live performance in March that was postponed when shelter in place happened. But we're excited to host her next year instead. Here's a message from Laura Dern.
Hello, Sonoma County. It's Laura Dern here, and I just wanted to send my love. Hope everyone is staying safe and well, getting ready to vote. And I just wanted to say how sorry I am. I can't be with you for the Women in Conversation, given these unprecedented times. We can't be together in person right now, but I pray and really look forward to being with you for a 2021 celebration that, creating community for women to support and hear and